Hi, everyone. Welcome to 24/7's Upskill workshop on tips for finding a job as a recent graduate. I'm Emma Rauschkal, the Director of Marketing here at 24/7. And for those of you who aren't as familiar, we are a recruitment agency helping creative, marketing, and tech candidates get matched to freelance and full-time job opportunities. And we're really excited to be here with you all today to talk about some best practices for finding a job as a recent grad. A few housekeeping items before we jump in. We have you all muted for the presentation, but please feel free to engage with us through the Q&A function. Send us any questions that you have, and time permitting, we'll get to them at the end. And we'll be sharing a copy of today's presentation as well as a recording of the workshop later this afternoon. And with that, I am very excited to introduce my special guest, Mary Kate Kane. She's a senior account manager here at 24/7, has been with the company for almost 10 years, which is amazing, and has a number of partnerships with colleges and universities in the New York area, including having been an adjunct professor at LIM. So Mary Kate, I will pass it to you.
Thank you, Emma. I want to start out and say thank you to everyone for joining today or to listening to this presentation. I think it's huge, and you should definitely pat yourself on the back. You are doing this step in the right direction to help yourself in your career. And I just want to share some tips with Emma today and you guys, and help you with your job search. So we all know that unemployment, the rates are extremely high right now, and it's a difficult time to find a job. Graduating from college, recent grads, someone with a few years of experience, there's so much excitement. You want to get into the job, get some experience, start making some money, and you're hitting roadblocks right now, and it's a little discouraging. But throughout the presentation today, I'm really going to focus on a number of things of what you can be concentrating on to help you with your search. I will start out by saying that two things that I want everyone to put in the back of their minds is to be proactive and to be positive. And those are two things that I think we all need to remember throughout this whole process. We all know that a number of companies are really pivoting towards the digital space. We're no longer going into retail stores as often. It's more online shopping, online marketing. And really the industries are innovating to each customer in new ways, figuring out ways to reach the customers, to increase sales, and really to make things happen. And that's what we're going to do as well. We want to make things happen ourselves, and we want to be able to find a job. So the first thing we want to start with is research. Research is one of my favorite things. I think it goes across the board for a number of different aspects of finding a job. The first thing is to land a job, and what we need to do is consider, what have we been doing the past 4 years, the past 2 years, the past 6 years at school? We've been working very hard, and now it's time to find a job. So we need to think about the classes that we've taken, the skills that we've learned, the internships that we've had, the relationships that we've formed, and really to figure out, let's narrow down our search a little bit. What types of companies do we want to work for? What types of roles are interesting to us? What did I really enjoy doing every day? What classes did I like? Because really, you want to be doing that in your job, and you want to feel rewarded by that. You really want to start reading the job descriptions. It's one thing to learn something in a class and really to have an understanding of what you'd be doing in a certain function of a job. But then when you actually read the job descriptions, I'll admit sometimes they might be a little bit different. And it's really eye-opening to know what the client is looking for, what the company is looking for within a candidate. So read over those job descriptions. I think the job descriptions will also be extremely helpful because it will allow you to really craft your resume. We'll specifically talk about resumes. I believe it's the next slide, but it's really going to help you to know what you want to focus on to portray to the client that you have that experience already coming into the interview. You want to start having conversations. You want to talk to friends, you want to talk to family, and you want to have those new conversations. You want to reach out to people at different companies, introduce yourself, let them know what you're looking for, and start picking their brain. Start finding out what they actually do in the job. How did they get the position that they have? These conversations are going to be really enlightening to you. I'll admit, I've been with the company for close to 10 years, but I still remember prior to 24/7 looking for a job. And in a sense, it could be a little awkward reaching out to people, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. You're having conversations, you're learning, and it really does pay off. You also want to check out different companies' reviews. Now, I think we all know when we have a great experience, we're never running home to go onto Yelp to start talking positively about a company. And the same thing goes for, talking about a company in a positive way. You're not going to run to Glassdoor. A lot of the people that do reviews sometimes might be the negative. So you can't focus on that. You need to have additional conversations and making sure you're finding out from people, hey, how do you like the company? Because sometimes the negative people are the one talking about it. And I want everyone to know that, because I've had candidates come to me, oh, I haven't read the best things about the company. I said, yes, but I think you need to talk to other people at the company as well, either over the phone, in person, through Zoom, to get their opinion. Researching your career path. I think we all need to realize that, your first job that you have out of school, it's not going to be your entire career path. It really, in a sense, could be your first foot in the door. You're not going to go into a merchandising role and be expected to stay within merchandising your whole career. You're also not going to be expected to stay at one company for your entire career. So use it as an opportunity. It's a foot in the door with the company. You're meeting different people. Even if you are working, you're networking, you're gaining experience, and you're really figuring out, what does the future look like for me?
I love your point about talking to friends and family to get some more clarification. I think a lot of times when we're fresh out of school, we read a job description and we don't even always know what all of the responsibilities entail. So it's really helpful to get that in-person description, characterization of a role, and be able to assess, is this something that I'm interested in?
And listen, just because you don't check off every single box in a job description doesn't mean you're not qualified. The companies are willing to train you as well. And I think when you have those conversations, it would allow you to really learn about it, do your research, familiarize yourself with these different programs and responsibilities. So then you're able to talk to that. You'll be honest that you don't have that experience, but you have the knowledge of what they're looking for.
Great advice.
So here's the resume. I'll admit, back when I first started at 24/7, they actually had a presentation in the office, and someone was asking the people that were there, how long do you think someone looks at a resume for? And I'm eavesdropping, and I think, definitely minutes. It's really less than a minute sometime that someone's looking at your resume, so you really want to catch your attention. Some things that I'll mention today, you can probably think, oh yes, I'm aware of all this, but you'll be surprised when you realize that people leave off. I've gotten resumes before. There's no phone number, there's no email address, there's no location of where you're located. And really, I want to be able to know, okay, this is who the candidate is. This is how I'm going to contact them right away because I'm excited to have a conversation. This is how I'm going to email them. And I want to know, where are you located? Are you actually in the state that I'm looking to recruit for? Or is this going to take some time for you to relocate? So basics of including your contact information. You want to make sure that your resume is a representation of yourself. You really want to be able to promote yourself, show the great school that you attended, the degree that you received. If you had studied abroad, you want to put that on there. That's definitely a great talking point. You also want to list all of the companies you've worked for, specifically how long you were there, specifically what your title was. A lot of times recent graduates might just put intern. Get creative, give yourself an actual title, find something that's most appropriate for the role that you had there. And then really give that solid job description. So those bullet points that really touch upon what you've done at the company. And that's why I mentioned in the previous slide, you can read the job descriptions and really see what clients are looking for. And if you have that experience, you're able to use that verbiage to actually convey what you've done at that company. You don't need to include every single position that you've had. As time goes on, once you're graduating, you might have internships under your belt. You might have some more relevant experience. Those are the things that you want to highlight. Just because you've had numerous positions doesn't mean you need to include every single one of them. I'll admit, I was a lifeguard years ago, and when I got to the point of doing my resume, I thought to myself, of course I'm going to put that on there. And then I realized I'm not applying to positions that would be for a lifeguard. You want to put those relevant positions on there. And also, if you don't have specific experience, that's okay. Companies are going to give you a chance as well. You want to highlight, your knowledge, the skill set that you have, the discipline, to really show what you're able to bring to the table. And you're really going to tailor your resume to the position you're applying to. So for instance, if you're applying to a marketing assistant role or a merchandising assistant role, you might be able to apply to both types of positions, but you'd have two separate resumes to be able to speak to that experience. And also don't forget about the soft skills. Yes, the hard skills are extremely important, but you want to make sure you highlight the soft skills as well. Resumes are a great way to brag about yourself. You have so much to bring to the table. It's a great background that you have that a company would be very lucky to have you for. And it's really your first representation. Kind of goes without saying, making sure you're reading it over, using the proper tenses, you're spell checking everything, and you're including everything that you want to share with the client. Another thing is organizations, clubs, volunteer opportunities. You don't have to include every single thing, but these are things to think about. Do I want to include that? Is that something that's relevant? And you never know what someone's going to reference on your resume. They might talk about your first internship freshman year. So being able to clearly articulate what you've done in these different roles when you're actually interviewing for a company.
I love your point about tailoring each resume to the job description. And it's kind of the perfect next step from what we talked about earlier, which is doing your research. So once you've researched some jobs that you're interested in, you can take all of that knowledge and apply it to each resume that you plan on sending based on the job description.
So getting social, I'd probably say 9.5 times out of 10 or 9.5 people out of 10, people are on social media in different capacities. And just because it's not your LinkedIn profile, these sites can still work in your favor. Your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, it's an excellent representation of yourself. I will admit, I've been saying for a very long time, be careful what you post on social media. I'm sure you've been hearing it since the second you opened up an account. Be careful what you're posting because a lot of people can find it. I have a close colleague of mine who would tell students all the time, go home, Google yourself, see what pops up. Make sure you're happy with what you're able to see and what is visible, because that's what a lot of hiring managers do. Sometimes they don't just rely on your resume. They'll turn to your LinkedIn. They'll see if they can find you on Facebook. And it's not necessarily to uncover anything bad. It's just to see the representation of yourself before actually meeting you in person. We've had a lot of situations where social media has really worked in candidates' favor, and they've gotten positions because of it. You create a brand for yourself, a representation. You talk about, sometimes candidates will talk about their style or their travel, or different products that they've been using. It's really a simple way to create a brand for yourself, and it definitely works in your favor. So always be careful what you're including. It's LinkedIn really should be your best friend. Other than Excel, I think LinkedIn should be your other best friend. It's really a virtual resume for yourself. You're easily, found on LinkedIn, whether they're looking up a certain experience, a company, a candidate of a certain company, or a certain title or a school. I use LinkedIn pretty much all day, every day. I'm constantly looking for new talent, and that's how you're able to be discovered. So really making sure that your resume and your LinkedIn, making sure the titles are the same, the timeline is the same in terms of how long you've been there, because the two are really a mirror of each other. And they're both also a work in progress. You're constantly adding things to your resume and taking things off. You're constantly changing different things to make it more exciting. You might think, oh, I worked in a retail store and, I just, I was behind the cash wrap. How do I make that exciting? Once you discover that, you put that on your resume, you put that on your LinkedIn. You're constantly connecting with new people on LinkedIn, whether it's a classmate, whether it's myself or Emma, other account managers at 24/7, your old managers. I would tell students, I would tell recent graduates, really anyone, think about the professors that you've had the past 4 years. Think about people that you've interacted with, whether you spoke with them directly or were just in their company. Connect with them, build your network. The more candidates that are reaching out to different companies, the more competition there is. So if you can make a connection through LinkedIn, it will extremely work in your favor. There's groups, you could follow companies, you could follow people. Honestly, the possibilities are endless of what you can do on LinkedIn.
I know, I feel like we spend like half our day on LinkedIn here at 24/7, but it really is such a great tool. And you also might discover some new roles that you didn't even know were out there through your networking. So it's a great opportunity to do some of that research that Mary Kate talked about in the beginning.
And remember, in the beginning of Facebook and Instagram and whatnot, most of the time when you would friend someone or request to friend them, most of the time you knew them. LinkedIn, you don't have to know anyone previously because everyone's looking to grow their network. So whether it's a head of a department, someone in talent acquisition, someone in HR, someone from a recruiting agency, or just someone that you've crossed paths with over the years, I think it's a great way to do it. You can friend them, and you can also send a follow-up message. Thank you so much for connecting with me. That's your way of introducing yourself. That's your way of sharing your resume with that person. That's your way of asking them, hey, can you help me? Can we have a conversation? So these are all different things that you're able to do once you connect with different people on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I also love the idea of sharing a piece of relevant news that you've read recently, an industry trend that you've noticed. I think any way you can bring value to the people you're connecting with is going to make you stand out.
Yeah, we're constantly going after new business. We're constantly going after new candidates. And one thing that we're doing is if we see relevant information, we're sharing it with clients. First of all, they love to know that we've discovered things about them or their company, that it's out there and people are noticing it. So it's a great, conversation starter for sure.
Perfect segue to networking.
Yes, networking. So reviewing your network of contacts can really be essential to you. You might think to yourself, I don't know anyone. I don't know where to start. Who do I reach out to? I used to tell people I always loved grabbing a piece of computer paper, sitting down and thinking about companies I wanted to work for. And then at the same time, do I know anyone that actually works there? Whether it's a head of a department or an intern or a retail associate, who do I know that I might be able to reach out to help me find a job? Tapping into your alumni network. I'll be honest, I went to St. Joseph's University in Pennsylvania, and I get messages all the time from fellow alumni, and they'll reach out, and I get so excited just to know that they actually went to the same school as me. Most of the time, we didn't cross paths. They're either before me or after me in school, but I get excited. I want to be able to help them. Same thing goes for my high school, my grammar school. You'll be surprised of who you're able to reach out to, and people are willing to help you. You put that effort out there, you make that connection of the school you went to. Sometimes it was at the same time, other times you didn't cross paths, but either way, it's okay. But I think it's a really great way to really reach out. We talked about this already, your friends, your family. When I mention friends and family, even if you are reaching out to them, always remain professional. I discovered that through a story I had heard once of someone reaching out to their best friend's older sister. And they were pretty casual in the message, and the message got forwarded to all these executives. Nothing negative happened, but really you just want to make sure it's the best representation of yourself. So yes, if you're super close with someone, still remain professional when you're handling these conversations. Whether it's a text message, an email, a message through LinkedIn, always remain professional when you're reaching out to people. Networking definitely requires time and effort, and it may require you to reach out to numerous people or reach out to someone numerous times. I remember when I was applying to jobs many years ago, I'd be so excited. I found these great jobs. I applied to them online, and then I was ready to go on with my day. I wanted to enjoy myself. And now looking back at it, I wasn't always hearing back from everyone. And I think I would have had better chances of hearing back if I took that extra step. So yes, I applied online. Yes, I filled out all the information that was required, provided the resume like it was requested, but I didn't take that extra step always to reach out to someone at that company. It's kind of that 1-2 punch. You reach out, you apply, but then you have to follow up with someone. And you don't always have to just follow with one person. So if you apply to a job, think about, okay, can I reach out to the department head? Can I reach out to the HR person, the talent acquisition person? There's hundreds, sometimes thousands of people applying to jobs or just reaching out to people. You want to make sure that you are noticed. And if that first email or message wasn't noticed, maybe it's that second one that you will be discovered. So think about who else can I reach out to in addition to just applying or sending that first initial message. There's numerous times where at 24/7, the account managers, the business development associates, and managers are actually sharing the same messages because someone is reaching out to so many people at the company. And honestly, I think that's a great thing. The person's getting noticed, the person's resume is getting circulated within the team, and we're seeing if we can help them. And no one owes you anything. So you might send a message, you might leave a voicemail, and you might not hear back, and that's okay. I don't want anyone getting discouraged, because if you have that additional efforts of reaching out to people, and that's what's going to pay off. So just because someone wasn't able to get back to you, they could have forwarded your resume, they could have missed it, but we have to be positive and we have to be proactive and continue to reach out to other people. So, if you don't hear back, it's okay. You'll find someone else to get back to you.
Yeah, move on to the next.
Yeah. So transferable skills and filling the gap. There's times where you don't necessarily always have the direct experience someone is looking for. There's times where there might be a gap in your resume. You weren't able to get an internship during that semester. No matter what it might be, you always want to be able to connect the dots between your experience and the job you're applying to, and the desired career that you're looking for. So don't highlight the negative of it. Focus on the positive, the experiences that you did have that will help you within your job search, that will help you succeed within this position. And don't worry about any, gaps that you might have. Taking courses is huge. Consider taking courses or something that you might be missing. You might be noticing in those job descriptions, they speak about a computer program. I talked about before about LinkedIn and Excel being your best friend. I've spoken to numerous candidates and I've encouraged all of them to really work on different computer skills, specifically Excel. A refresher course, whether it's through, an online platform or through a local university. There's so many opportunities, especially right now, and there's a lot of great companies and organizations and schools that are offering discounted courses or free classes for different programs that will be able to help you. Because you never want to constantly go on an interview and say, oh, I'm, basic, Excel skills. You want to be able to confidently say to them, proficient, VLOOKUPs, pivot tables, macros, micros, I could do it all. You want to be confident in your experience. So you don't want to have to say, no, I don't have that experience, because there's definitely opportunity for you to gain it through a course. Signing up for webinars. I don't know if I said this already, but pat yourself on the back for being here today or listening to this webinar right now. I say there's so many opportunities out there, and for people that don't join, it's a missed opportunity. And the fact that you're signing on right now, it's huge. You can really learn what trends are emerging in the industry. New connections can be made. I hope that everyone will connect with me on LinkedIn after this. I hope everyone will reach out. If I can help you in any way, whether it's finding a job or answering a question, I would love to do so. So I hope everyone takes that opportunity. Also signing up for 24/7 if you haven't already. Always being in the know. I'll admit, when I first graduated, my parents would tell me, you have to be aware of what's going on in the industry. You have to read articles. And that has stuck with me ever since. You have to be aware of what's going on. I had an interview years ago with a fashion house, and I remember the hiring manager said something to me, and I actually knew what she was talking about, and it felt great. And she actually said to me, she goes, you know how many times I bring this up? And I realized people aren't researching our company. People aren't trying to find out what's going on. People aren't knowing and sharing information with me of what they've discovered, and you actually did it. It felt great. Reading articles, especially now, how are companies doing? What's the competition like right now? Are they acquiring different brands? Have they dropped any lines? Are they selling at different, retailers? What social media, have they been focusing on? What marketing initiatives? There's so much that you could discover with a click of a button. So, especially reading those articles and taking a look at these companies would benefit you tremendously.
It will also help you see where the opportunities are. To Mary Kate's point, as you're applying for jobs, you want to be applying with companies who are actively hiring, who are growing, who have successfully made this pivot to digital over the last few months. And so all of this research will help you be more targeted in your search.
Yeah, I said about being a deer in headlights and not knowing what was going on. I'll reference a time where, clients have told me, your candidate didn't read the job description. And that is mortifying for me and mortifying for the candidate. That's the basics. So that's what we focused on in the beginning. To really understanding the job description, understanding the company is huge. And reading those articles, it all kind of ties together. Sorry. Craft your narrative. Shaping your personal brand story is critical. You call it like your elevator pitch, your introduction of who you are, the things that you want to cover, explaining who you are, where you went to school, what your interests are, maybe where you've interned. It's your opening act. It's really being able to show someone in a small period of time, what you're able to bring to the table. Making sure you have that really crafted is huge. The hiring managers are most likely going to ask you what you're interested in and what makes you right fit for the job. And I think being able to articulate that is huge. Remember, when you're interviewing for a specific position, that's the job that you want. Yes, you want to work for the company and maybe you honestly prefer a different department. Honestly, they don't care. They want to know that you want that job. You're committed to that job and that company, and you're never going to use the words to a hiring manager, foot in the door. It might be the case, but you want to be able to articulate why you want that job and want to be a part of that team and why you're going to succeed. Demonstrating what it is and why they should hire you. And really, it's not what's in it for you because they need the person and they're giving you an opportunity. So I am here for this job. These are the skills that I have that will allow me to succeed and really being able to show that. When you're on an interview, making sure you have questions prepared for them, which shows your interest. And then also just taking the time to thank them. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for speaking with me today. And, really allowing me to show why you should hire me. And once you have your pitch, you got to practice, practice, practice. And that goes for, interviewing as well. And, being able to explain your experience. It takes practice. I talked to someone earlier. Probably last time I spoke to her was about 2 years ago. She's been happily working. She was unfortunately, laid off, and she had some trouble explaining her experience. And I said, it is fine. I said, you're talking with me. I'm happy to help you. I said, it takes practice. I said, you're not saying what you're doing every day. You just do it. You're not announcing, I'm going to answer the phones. I'm going to handle some Excel documents. You're just going to do it. I said, it takes practice to remind yourself, wow, that's everything I did. This is what I'm able to bring to the table. And I need to be able to put it all together and explain it to a hiring manager. So it takes practice. So really craft your narrative and then practice once you have it complete.
That could be your third P, Mary Kate. Positive, proactive, practice.
Thanks, Emma. You're right.
Add to the arsenal.
Staying organized. So as you start applying to jobs, you're probably clicking away and applying and sending your resume. It gets overwhelming. I think we all need to remember, okay, where am I applying? Who am I reaching out to? Did they get back to me? Did I send everything that I needed to? And, back to that Excel, I think we can create an Excel document. List the company, when you applied, what the position was, any follow-up that you had to do. You can also list who the people were that you reached out to directly, whether it was on LinkedIn or through a personal connection. It's just a way to kind of make sense of it all and not to get so overwhelmed. You never want to be applying to the same position over and over again. You never want to be applying to every single job that a company has posted, because you want to apply to the jobs that you have experience with, that you feel that you'd be able to succeed in. If they're looking for 1 to 2 years of experience, that's you guys. That's the recent graduates. If they're looking for someone 8 to 10, unfortunately, that would not be a recent graduate. They need 8 to 10 years of experience within that role. So something to remember. You could still reach out to the company. You could still, reach out to the hiring manager and whatnot for more junior positions. But if it's an 8 to 10 year position, a recent grad, unfortunately, most times would not be the right fit. So keeping track of where you're applying, making sure you're checking your email and your voicemails regularly. We all know we're pretty much glued to our phones. Most of the time our phones are within arm's reach. But there's a lot of times you call someone about an opportunity or speak to someone and they don't get back to you. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't check my voicemail. Well, first of all, if you're applying to jobs, you really should be checking your voicemail, making sure your voicemail box is not full, making sure if I'm reaching out to you, I'm able to leave a message. If you're not able to answer, you're able to check that message and you're able to get back to me right away. Of course, within reason. Same thing goes for email, keeping track of your emails. We're getting so many emails every day, both personal and, through, different websites and whatnot. You want to make sure that if someone's reaching out to you about an opportunity, you're able to find that email. You don't want to getting lost in the shuffle. You don't want to miss out on an opportunity. Next thing is making sure you are sending follow-ups. So sending a follow-up note. I was a huge supporter of sending handwritten notes. I thought it was a really nice personal touch. I'll be honest, you don't really receive them as much anymore, or as many. But I think it's a nice touch. I think if you're able to actually write a handwritten note to someone, I think it speaks volumes. And that's just not after an interview. That could be a great phone conversation you had with someone, just, an exploratory interview, or those conversations that you have with people that you're meeting within your network. That could be meeting someone at an event and sending a follow-up note. In addition to that follow-up note, because obviously it takes a little time for the mail, do an email, write an email. Send that, within probably 8 to 24 hours, thanking them for their time, expressing interest in the position, interest in their organization, interest in the industry, and really thanking them, for speaking with you. So within 8 to 24 hours, I'd say to really write that email. And then anyone you met, like I said, connect with them on LinkedIn. It's another way to stay connected.
I love that idea, sending thank you notes, not just after you interview, but if you have a virtual coffee with someone, they're able to connect you on to someone else. It's so important to say thank you. You never know when that connection might come back around, be able to help you in the future. You want to leave on a positive note.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, that was so informative. So thank you, Mary Kate. And we are basically at time. So if you did submit a question to us ahead of today's workshop, we will be sure to follow up with you via email after the presentation. As Mary Kate said, we would love to be able to help answer any additional questions or help give you advice in your career path. So please feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn after today. Sign up with 24/7. Check out our other workshops too. We have some focused on resumes, on interview tips that go a bit more in depth than we were able to today. So be sure to check those out as well.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and for listening. It's a pleasure to be able to share this information with all of you, and really 24/7 is able to help you. I'm here to help you. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to email me, and let's see if we can help you with your search. I wish everyone the best of luck.
Thanks, everyone.